And welcome back to the First and Goal podcast. My name is Lewis. Next to me, as always, is my beautiful co-host Laraib. As we are here to break down Week 11 of the NFL season. Took a little hiatus last week. I was
Little
out of
bye week.
town. Laraib was out of town, so we need to get the mind right. All these NFL teams get bye weeks. We thought it was a good time for us to get our bye week, but we are refreshed. We are ready and rearing to go now to break down really just a insane week 11 of NFL football. Huge playoff implications, shifting constantly, and just a ton of stuff that we're going to get into. A lot of stuff that I feel like we're not going to get to today, but nevertheless, it's going to be a ton of fun, Laura.
Yeah, and of course we're gonna start off with the picks, which I know you are giddy to talk about, but you're on a little bit of a three-game skid before you finally were able to stop the bleeding. That makes the final score 6-4-1 for the season. So you're
Mm-hmm.
still up two, but a week where we didn't disagree on much, but of course your upset came through. Denver, I mean, never in a million years would I have thought Kansas City coming off a bye in a game they really needed would lose in Denver, but good call by you. And then Philly Detroit was the only major game we disagreed on. Philly came through, both of our locks hit, and
I
KC
mean,
let me
just looking
down.
at this, really good week in general. I mean, the Panthers screwed us, um, but everything else we were pretty sharp on. I mean, the Chargers, we'll get to them later, but yeah, I mean, give a lot of credit to the Broncos. We're definitely going to be talking about them in just a moment, and then the Lions, woof. Um, but yeah, I think we're starting to hit our stride now. Next week is going to be very interesting given the slate of games that we have. But let's go ahead, Laurab. Let's go straight into Monday Night Football last night. The Dallas Cowboys get a huge road victory over the Raiders. Um, Big takeaways from that. I feel that we see the ceiling of this Cowboys offense, and it's potent, right? Four passing touchdowns from Dak, getting the running game going with Javante, Pickens, Ferguson making huge plays on the outside. CD there was there too. Um, but just you see the ceiling of this offensive attack, albeit against a woe-begotten Raiders squad. But it just makes you think with this level of quarterback play, if they just had some of the requisite parts, defensively, they could be a competitive team. And then last night, they had the requisite parts defensively, right? You get a few guys back from injury. Demarion Overshone came back, Malik Hooker, and then your two guys you just traded for, and Quinnen Williams, obviously 1.5 sacks last night, 5 quarterback hits, which is a career high for him in his first game as a Cowboy. And even Logan Wilson was making some big plays for them. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say Jerry was right, but in the year that I still think at this point, Laura, I think the playoffs is just too hefty of an expectation for this team. But in a year that you get some draft capital from these teams you traded with, you are able to push together. Well, you kind of threw a lot of that away for Quentin Williams, but you still have some draft capital via the Packers, right? So being able to really reload this defense and just build a solid squad around Dak in this offense. I mean, there is a winning recipe building for this Cowboys team if they're able to nail this offseason. But do you think their fortunes change at all for this season after a win like this?
No, I don't want to, blow too much smoke up the defense's ass because, you got to feast on Stone Forsythe for 60 minutes of an NFL game. That was not pretty. And so they face the Eagles next week, and I think that's going to be a bigger test for their defense. They're going to be playing in Jerry World, and so we'll see how they continue to build on success from this past game. But like you mentioned, we don't really see them competing in this year's NFC. Just the class that we have already. Teams are already 2 or 3 games ahead of them. It's gonna be really a uphill battle, and then we'll see this great performance from Dak. He'll throw 4 touchdowns this week, and then next week they're gonna find a way to struggle in some aspect, and so it's just been the up and down for this team. And I'm sure they have a good nucleus here on the defensive side, like you mentioned, Overshone in his third year now. He has been a very solid player when he's on the field, but injuries have been drilling him. He is someone I feel like you can really build around as the center of your defense at the linebacker position. Him, you bring in Quinnen Williams. He's a solid, guy that you can have in the middle of the defense as well. But I just don't think this is the year for them.
Yeah, and then I mean the Raiders just year from hell continues. How quickly do you pivot away from Geno? I mean, this is bad and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. Was this whole experiment just a complete and utter failure? Is there anything they can recoup from this?
I mean, he showed some flashes in this game, but it's like, we're out there throwing the ball to Trey Tucker and Michael Mayer for the most part. I mean, Brock Bowers can only do so much. And then, like we mentioned, the offensive line is a complete sieve. And so you can say, okay, we're going to rebuild this offensive line. We'll continue to build with Geno. But on the other side, you can say, hey, without, a top, guy at the quarterback position, there's really no point of trying to build something like that, especially in the division that they're in. And so I think this is more of a blow it up. Pete Carroll, I mean, you could have just been sitting on the beach sipping fucking pina coladas, but
It's
you
not in
had to go to
him.
Las Vegas. So you had to, yeah, I don't know, you had to thug it out for some reason.
Who owes you money, Pete? We can help you. Or who do you
Well,
owe money? I should say that.
I don't know, we can help them. We're planning a trip to Japan, so we're kind of saving some for that. But no, I think this is kind of just blow it up after the season, and without your superstar quarterback in this league, your team really isn't much, and so I think they start to I don't know, hopefully they realize that soon.
And especially in that division where it's, I mean, by far the best division in football, and you can quickly fall behind in that arms race if you're not consistently being competitive and loading up. So, but let's go ahead, Laraib, and move on to our favorite game here on the show. It is cap or no cap. I have a cap here.
Mm, mm.
Um, Anyway, how this works, basically, we'll give each other some statements, and we'll say whether or not we think it's cap. Come on, man, you capping or no cap? Hey, there's some real legitimacy to that statement. So we're gonna go ahead and start, Larob. I got one for you. The NFC North has had some very, very exciting performances, interesting up and downs from all the teams in the division. Currently led by the Chicago Bears, much to a lot of people's surprise, with all three teams currently in, or three of the top four teams. Sorry, nine. That doesn't include your team.
Actually, the
Um,
Lions are not in the playoffs right now either.
oh, they're currently out?
Currently out.
Wow. Okay. Well, teams that are very much in the hunt, I'll say that. Um, so cap or no cap, Rob. The NFC North will have three playoff teams this year.
I'm gonna go ahead and put that cap on. As much as I've really liked what I've seen out of the Bears, I really feel like they are gonna be the odds one out from this equation. The Lions, I think we both agree they'll figure something out. I think all the remaining games for the Lions are in a dome, and so Jared Goof, I don't think he'll be making an appearance until come playoff time, and then. The Packers, they've been up and down, but I think we can trust in them. It's what really scares me for this Bears team, Lewis. You and I were going through it. It's the remaining schedule, right? Philly, Green Bay twice, San Francisco, and Detroit. That's a lot of, uphill battles. I think many games you're not going to be favored in. And
No.
as much as I really love the improvement from Caleb Williams, from Roman Dudze, from Kyle Monangai, I just think their defense is much maligned. And they've had to claw back in a lot of these games, and that's a great testament to their team. But sometimes, that's not really a winning culture, especially when you have to face some of these teams who are, sort of going for that Super Bowl, going for that one seed. I think that's going to be really tough for them. A division that I would think that would have three teams from the same division is the NFC West. I think you and we might disagree on who wins that division between the Seahawks and the Rams. But then you and we were talking about that 49ers cupcake ass schedule. Um, it's just way too many wins for them coming up. And I think the Bears are going to be the odd ones out.
I'm looking here at the NFL playoff simulator from the New York Times and the Athletic. Uh, Having the Bears, never mind, a pop up with a subscription fee just came up, so that's not happening. But the Lions having the highest chance to win the division and make the playoffs at 81% to make the playoffs. You had the Packers at 68% and the Bears at 47% chance to make the playoffs. So I agree with you, Laraib. I just think the Bears haven't really beaten a good team all year. And then in the games where they've really had some adversity, they've been throttled. So really but what I'll say about them is they're finding ways to win in a lot of these late situations. And momentum is a real thing in the NFL. And I think a team that is finding ways to win week after week after week, you're seeing steadily improvements with the defense, playing a lot better. Now, when you're playing a guy like nine, you'll have a lot of opportunities to get your get back. But obviously, letting nine score a touchdown on you for a game winning drive is never a good thing. But thankfully, Caleb was able to, get right back in the clutch. So I think they are a legitimate team that could make a real push here. But you just mentioned their schedule just brutal going forward, especially with all these divisional teams, these teams playing against each other. I've just seen this Bears team collapse in a lot of these games against legitimate passing quarterbacks. So they, I also agree that this is probably a cap. The teams that I feel the most confident in the NFC, at least the wild card race, is combination of Detroit slash Green Bay, the Seahawks, and I think it's going to be a battle between the 49ers and the Bears. And week 17, Bears Chicago, Sunday night football. I think that game might be for potentially the playoffs. So that's going to be a super exciting game to look forward to. But as of now, I just don't trust the Bears much as I do trust those other teams. Obviously, we saw Purdy come back this last week and look pretty impressive. Um, so I really do think that Bears fall out, but the Lions really haven't been impressive all season long, Laraib. And this is the kind of the bigger part of the topic I wanted to get to was this Lions team, and hell, the Packers too, but more so the Lions. Just when it's not the cakewalk they had last year. They're not blowing teams out. And Jared Goff consistently in these big moments against these great defenses on the road comes up short time and time again. So how worried are you about the Lions?
That's a fair point. But like I mentioned at the top, they don't have to worry about playing anywhere else besides domes for the rest of the season. And so I think that's legitimately a huge
I guess
factor
I
when it
guess I
comes to
mean
Jared
more
Goff.
come their contender status and the team we thought they were going to be.
Yeah, I have to agree. The loss of Ben Johnson is really, really starting to take form in this mid part of the season. Now you can say, they've had a lot of tough matchups. You had to play the Eagles, you had to play the Chiefs. Um, Games where it wasn't actually really close, and so that's also a little bit concerning. But I just think come playoff time, they're gonna find ways to win with Jahmyr Gibbs, with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think that's something a little bit more than I can trust in versus a Bears defense as a unit, which can be a sieve at sometimes, versus, Jordan Love and his, just screw it, someone's down there play style. And so out of those teams, I feel like they lead that pack. But when you talk about a team like the Rams or a team like maybe even the Seahawks or the Eagles, I think they're a little step down.
All right. Well, what's your cap or no cap, Laura?
Well, let's flip it on over to the AFC side, and a team who had a huge win this week, the Denver Broncos, currently leading the AFC at 9-2 with the 1 seed. I want to ask you, cap or no cap, Lewis? This Broncos team finishes as the number 1 seed.
Okay, as the number one seed. Okay. Um, I'm gonna say no cap. I really think they are gonna finish as the one seed. The only thing that could potentially scare me and push me away from this is the tiebreaker with Indianapolis. But Indianapolis' schedule going forward is pretty brutal. So if you don't think it's gonna be Indy, there's not a lot of other great options around the conference. Now you can say New England, but I think that they might have a little coming back down to earth here soon. They play a tough end of their schedule. Ravens, Bills back to back towards the end. And the Broncos, yes, they still do play the Chiefs again, but that game is, may not mean much at the end of the season, right? At least not for the Broncos. So I will say, and then just overall, my belief in this Broncos team, I don't really trust Bo Nix. But every time he's in a situation where it's a do or die, he finds a way to come through. And there were so many moments in that game against Kansas City, and we'll get to them in a second here. But just these 3rd and 10s, finding guys down the field, the throw to Cortland Sutton, basically to ice the game, was just nails, like difficulty. So I give him a ton of credit for showing up and finding ways to win these games. I think Sean Payton's done an excellent job this year of building a system that can support him. And you lose your best running back, J.K. Dobbins, and you really have no good running backs on the team. So doing just more and more on your back to really figure out this offensive situation has been pretty impressive. And you get guys like Troy Franklin starting to emerge. Obviously, Cortland Sutton is still around playing good ball. So, and the defense, just the best defense in the NFL, I think, bar none. So I have more faith in this Broncos team than I do a Patriots, who are the only real team I think who could contend with that. But come playoff time, I'm still skeptical of their actual AFC contender status.
Yeah, and I'm gonna agree with you. I'm also gonna go no cap. And what really stood out to me this week was that defense, like you mentioned. Will I label them number one? I think the Eagles are have been playing fantastic on defensively. And the Texans, their defense, I think the Broncos, Texans, and Eagles, all three have a legitimate case to say they're number one. But like you mentioned, we were talking about the Bears earlier, and we are talking about teams that just find ways to win when it's really improbable or just in unorthodox ways. And that's a very similar thing you could say about Bo Nix and this Broncos offense. They had to claw back against the Giants. They had to claw back against the Eagles. They were in a tough, nail biter, boxing match here against the Chiefs. And all three of those games, they found a way to win. And so I agree that they are going to continue to beat up on a couple of easy teams. But when it comes to, Green Bay, Kansas City that they have remaining on the schedule, I think they can stay in that fight. But ultimately, when it comes to playoff time, I think that's going to be the bigger question for this Broncos team. But right now, they're in a very comfortable spot to win the AFC.
So I have it pulled up here. Currently, the favorite are the Patriots at plus 200, followed right behind with the Colts at plus 260, and the Broncos basically tied with the Colts at plus 270. So it's pretty much a three-headed horse right there. Bills slightly behind at plus 450. A lot of that is just New England's cupcake schedule. But if New England drops a game or two, I think they're pretty much out of it. So I just like the strength of victory for the Broncos, and that's what you were alluding to there is just how impressive they've been in like certain victories, right? Beating the Chiefs, beating the Eagles, and just all these other like they've had good wins this season. They've had some very disappointing, sloppy, what the hell did I just watch wins, like the game against the Raiders on Thursday night, like the game against the Jets in England, right? Where it's like you barely squeaked by and Bo Nix looks awful. But in the big games where he needs to play the best, he has done it so far. So I really do like the way this Broncos team is shaping up now.
All right, let's move on to our next cap or no cap, Lewis. Sticking with the AFC West, we have the Kansas City Chiefs who are dropping or who have dropped to 5-5 now and out of the playoff race currently. I want to ask you, does Patrick Mahomes miss the playoffs for the first time in his starting career?
Cap or no cap? How are you formatting that?
Do the Chiefs miss the playoffs? The
Okay.
Chiefs will miss the
The
playoffs.
Chiefs will miss the playoffs. I'm saying cap. Obviously, that's cap, right? I mean, come on. Are the Chiefs going to miss the playoffs? Now, you can't say that with the same bravado and confidence that you've been able to say that with years past. I mean, this Chiefs team clearly has some demons it's fighting with right now. But what I'll say about it is you could argue, except for maybe a few positional differences here and there, that this Chiefs team is better than the 9-1 team at this point in the season that we saw from last year, right? You have a better offensive line. Obviously, Josh Simmons has been out for a while, but better than they were playing last year, certainly. You have better receivers by far. A young defense that's just gotten more experience. Didn't really lose anyone crazy. I mean, like Justin Reed and a few other guys, but have had, they're still top five in overall defense in the league this year, top five in overall offense. They just don't have the same like they'll find a way to do it factor, which has just been killing them all season long. And in these spots where the Chiefs of the past, even last season, right? This plucky young Broncos team comes into town. Oh, we think we're going to get a huge win here. Block the kick at the end, right? Like they just found these ways to claw through and win, heart of the champion. And I think that thumping in the Super Bowl last year really made it like kind of showed the mortality of Kansas City, right? They're not a perfect team. They can't run the ball. Their secondary is pretty pedestrian, especially in these big moments. They don't have the same defensive impact as they've had in years before in terms of just getting to the quarterback. They're still fantastic at stopping the run. But usually this is the time of the year where the defense starts humming, the offense finds a good rhythm, and they just haven't been able to gel. One game it's the offense that plays amazing, and the defense lets them down, like in Jacksonville, or you have a game where the defense is playing pretty well and the offense just cannot get consistent drives. Like this past game, Laraib, you know, it's a 6-6 ball game, and Mahomes just throws an awful interception in the red zone, costing them definitely 3 points, but probably seven. And immediately the Broncos go down and score their only touchdown of the game. So it's just these weird, un-Mahomes, un-Andy Reid like mistakes that they're making where it's like, I'm not going to fade this team given their track history and the people on the team who've done it before, and even the certain peaks that we've seen from them this season alone. But it's really weird in Kansas City right now. I'm not sure where they turn.
Yeah, I'm also gonna say cap on that they miss the playoffs. I think they'll find a way to sneak in. But this is just a team, Lewis, who looks like they've been to three straight Super Bowls, right?
Yeah.
They look like a team who've been very tired. Um, not fully cohesive in the ways they've been in years past. But the pieces they have, like you mentioned, they're all there. So I feel like this is more of a mental thing than anything else. And it's going to be on a lot of Patrick Mahomes to figure things out. How do you jumpstart this offense? This is a team that severely is lacking a rushing game. I think they're like first, like, or excuse me, dead last in explosive rush rate. The team who gets some stuff the most on their run plays. This is a team that really needed to go out and get someone like a Breece Hall, like a Zach Charbonnet at the deadline to just add another dynamic piece to this offense. But I think, maybe even if they don't start getting some of those quality wins, we'll talk about these teams or one of these teams in a second, but the Chargers and the Jaguars, I just feel like they are two teams who are going to fall out, and the Chiefs will find their way in.
And Kansas City currently sitting at 5-5. You have the Colts coming up this week. You have another date with the Chargers, another date with the Broncos. They have a few gimmies on here. I mean, yeah, you play at Tennessee, at the Raiders at the end of the season. You play at Dallas on Thanksgiving, which is going to be a crazy game, just ratings wise. That's going to be an insane game. So at 5-5, I think the worst case scenario for the Chiefs, where they still make the playoffs, is probably 9-8. But the way this AFC is going, I think 10 wins is the floor for getting into the playoffs this year, given the Jaguars, the Texans, obviously the other teams, and kind of in that thick of it right now. Another team we're about to mention may fall out pretty quickly, but just a lot of these games on their schedule are very winnable games. They're favored in all seven of them already on the look ahead line. So if they can go 5-2, win 10 games, 10-7, I think that'll get them in. But anything less than that, and they're up a creek without a paddle. And that would be
Mm.
a shame.
All right, well, let's
Okay.
move on to another cap or no cap, Lewis. Sticking with the AFC for the third cap or no cap in a row. This Chargers team, Lewis, have been disappointing to say the very least. Obviously, started Rashawn Slater in the offseason, missing the season. Joe Walt in the last 3 weeks, he's done for the season. And now this Amari Hampton injured early in the season as well. And now this offense, Lewis, is slowly starting to come apart at the seams. And defensively, their rushing defense has really also started to lose some of that luster. So I want to ask you, Lewis, cap or no cap, this Chargers team will win one game for the rest of the season.
This seems very disrespectful coming from you. And trust me, I am not a Herbert guy. I think he is a fraud all through and through. But to say they're only going to win one game the rest of the season, huge cap on that one. I just think that just to go through their schedule real quick, just so our viewers are on the same page as us, they have a bye week this upcoming week. Then they host the Raiders, host the Raiders, host the Eagles, travel to Kansas City, travel to Dallas, host the Texans, and they travel to Denver. A lot of things can play in their favor here. One, you have a home game against the Raiders, should be a dub. Then you play the Cowboys on the road. I mean, Cowboys had a very interesting Monday night game here, but don't really love their defense whatsoever. I mean, the way they got pressure on Geno last night was pretty insane, but that should still be a game. Hampton should be back by then. We'll see what's going on with him, but should be able to return for that game. And then games against the Texans in week 17, that's a winnable, gotta get it game. And then finally, last game of the year at Denver. Denver may not be playing anybody. Denver might be locked in to the 1 seed. So that alone, I think you have four opportunities. And even if Denver is playing for something, you already beat them once this year, albeit, yes, you had your star tackle, but you certainly should still be able to do it again because you have Justin Herbert, who you're about to tell me is ludicrous that we're even discussing this. FanDuel has him at minus 168 to make the playoffs. So that means FanDuel thinks they're going to win at least three of these upcoming games, but you clearly don't think so. Thoughts?
I mean, this offensive line cannot stop a nosebleed, Lewis.
Justin
And
Herbert.
listen, we both agree this Raiders game, that's the one win. All
Yeah.
right. Versus Philly, they still are that's a game that Philly still needs because they're right there. The Rams are right behind them. Then we're talking about Kansas City. That's a game Kansas City needs. I mean, they're not gonna that's a tough game.
Chargers
Okay,
might need a few of these games too. Just
Dallas,
saying.
they're not completely out of their NFC picture. They're going to be telling themselves, hey, we're at home in Jerry World. I think this is a primetime game. Dallas, with the lights turned on, anything can happen in that game. Then Houston, they're not going to be out of the playoff picture. They're 5-5 right now. And week 17, that's going to be a must-win game for them too. And then week 18 against the Broncos, you're telling me this game might not mean much, but the Patriots, who are right there at 9-2, they can continue to find ways to win. The Colts, who are one game back, also with only two losses, they're also going to be right there for the 1 seed. And so I see a lot of teams who are solid defensively, who are able to get pressure on the quarterback through the defensive line against this terrible offensive line of the Chargers with, Hampton banged up. Now he should be back week 13, but this team, they cannot block anybody. And defensively, we saw Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin run all over them. I think this team is just due for a disaster. This is a season that was really promising to start, but I think the walls are starting to crumble down, and I think it's going to be really tough for them to find ways to win some of these games.
So let's just cut through it. Justin Herbert can't find a way to make it past these small hurdles in his way, is what you're saying.
Small hurdles. I mean, these are XFL guys going out there to block for him on the offensive line. You have 38-year-old Keenan Allen as your main target. And then defensively, they've just
Oh, but a few
Jesse
weeks ago
Minter.
they had a loaded receiver room. No, none of them got hurt.
I mean, Keenan Allen, the clock is ticking as it has been all season long.
It's here.
It's the offensive line that's really, I mean,
So
it
Herbert
was
is
just
not culpable whatsoever if they only win one game at the end of the year, is what you're saying.
obviously some blame will go on his shoulders, but I'm
Majority.
talking about overall as a team. Their defense has not been stepping up the past couple of weeks. Offensive line is a big issue for me. I mean, their offensive line may be worse than the Raiders. And that's saying a lot for a team that has Stone Forsythe starting. And so listen, if you want to put the blame on Herbert, sure, go ahead. I just think this team is going to struggle to win games for the remainder of the season.
Well, we'll certainly see about that. I guess I'm the Herbert guy now. I have way more faith in him than you do, so I'll take it. I don't like it, but I'll take it. And then finally, Larab, final cap or no cap. Your Seattle Seahawks are in a had a very tough loss this past week. Darnold turned back that clock when we've never seen it before. I mean, I thought I was in a pumpkin patch watching the game. It's like a scarecrow jumped out and oh my gosh, I'm seeing ghosts. Anyway, cap or no cap, Rob. Darnold will never win any meaningful game as a quarterback.
I'm gonna go cap on that, Lewis. This Seahawks team, they are
Overrated.
still in a position to win the NFC West. I know a lot of people thought, oh, the race is over since the Rams won, but this team still has to play one more time in Seattle. And then the Rams,
Lumen.
they still have to play the Buccaneers and they still have to play the Lions. Those are two, they're very difficult games. Now, the Seahawks, they're really hard games left are the Colts and the 49ers. And so this race is not over. I think Sam Darnold's gonna have plenty of opportunities to prove himself once again this season. Listen, those four interceptions, if only we had three picks in that game, maybe the Seahawks find a way to win, or if the Rams don't have the greatest punt of all time land at the 1 inch yard line. This is a team who, despite four picks, held the Rams to only 21 points, held Stafford in check for the first time this season, really. I still believe in this team. I still believe in Sam Darnold. He is 0-3 in his career against Chris Shula, but I still have a lot. I mean, what else can I say? Can I give up on him? No. I mean, he's a quarterback for our team. We're paying him $100 million. And so I think the Seahawks team has still a lot to prove.
I really do like this Seahawks roster. I love JSN on the outside. They have a good running game. I like Clint Kubiak as the offensive coordinator. Obviously, what Mike McDonald and this defense has been able to do this season has been insane. But when it comes down to it, and you're in a must need it, gotta have it, game on the line, playoff game, Darnold has never proven he can come through in a moment like that. Look at the losses this season, Larab. Obviously, Sunday against the Rams, just consistently pooping down his leg. Now you can make the argument that he did, cut the score to a one like a field goal game. They get the ball back, and he didn't look bad. They just didn't have enough time, really. But a lot of that was the grave he dug himself. But even against the Bucks, right? Couldn't get it done in the end. Costly mistake, threw that game away. Week 1 against the 49ers, just lost the ball right out of his hand, right? So I need to see Sam Darnold perform when the brights are the lightest. And this is no longer CenturyLink where the 12s are out there going crazy. This is Lumen. And Lumen just doesn't have the same juice as CenturyLink used to. So I just this game put a really bad taste in my mouth. One, the Seahawks are done in the division. That's over. And two, if they go on the road, let's say they play at Tampa, I don't even know, like at Philly. I mean, there's just no way Darnold's pulling that one out, right?
At Tampa, he has a shot. At Detroit, he has a shot.
He does.
At Philly, that would be tough. Just that would be hard. At Los Angeles, will he continue to see ghosts on the field? If he has to play Chris Shula in this playoffs, yeah, no, he's done. Um, no, but there's plenty of opportunities for this team to still win their division, to still win a couple, big time games. And that Week 18 game against the 49ers, that could have major implications.
That's the thing that, going through this episode so far has made me believe there are some insane matchups in week 17, week 18, week 16 that are really going to shape this playoff picture and just continue making what an exciting season already, even that much more of a roller coaster. But that's going to do it for cap or no cap, Larob. And then now we're going to go straight into our Thursday night football preview. Two teams that we have not mentioned but are making a lot of noise this season. The Buffalo Bills traveling to Houston. Bills favored by 6 on the road. We received the news that CJ Stroud will miss another game. So Davis Mills does get the start against Buffalo. And Davis Mills, I don't know if you're a Nico
Oh,
Collins
pumpkin
guy,
much.
you're going to be sad to watch him leave, but I just think this is a bad matchup for Houston, Laraib. I think that the biggest weakness of this Bills team is that rush defense, and the Houston rush offense is just pretty pathetic. Like Woody Marks is below average. Nick Chubb's beyond the hill, beyond belief. And they don't really, CJ Stroud, Davis Mills really provide nothing in terms of a scrambling, beat the team out of the pocket or really give you that threat for like the quarterback keep, anything like that. So this Bills secondary is going to have some good matchups against these Texans receivers. Really try to lock in on Schultz, Nico Collins, probably hold them to 0 catches each on Thursday night. And then the Josh Allen machine, it's just gonna roll on. I like the Bills in this matchup.
Yeah, also gonna roll with the Bills, but I feel like this could turn into a very ugly game. I mean, we're giving the Eagles a lot of credit. We're giving the Broncos a lot of credit for their defensive capabilities, but by all metrics, this Texans defense is statistically, top three this year. They could give Josh Allen a lot of trouble, just like they did last season in Houston. I think this is going to be a 24-21 game. It's just CJ, or not CJ Stroud, Davis Mills, in crunch time isn't going to be able to force the ball downfield in high pressure situations. I don't, no one thinks so. And so you got to roll with the Bills, but I do believe this is going to be a closer game than a lot of people expect.
All right. Well, and your final score,
24-21 Buffalo.
and I have Buffalo even lower scoring than that. I have the Bills 16 to Texans 10, hitting the
As long
number.
as James Cook finds the end zone.
I think him, Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz may not touch the ball next game. That's just my humble opinion. Um, a huge Keon Coleman game though. Anywho, let's go ahead and finish up the episode with a little pop culture corner. Name still in progress. One day it'll come to us like a eureka. Uh, we did a little It Dairy Lane. We did a little Chainsaw Man. Now we're gonna switch it over to the video game world, a medium that me and you are very familiar with, being big Xbox guys throughout our lives, having a lot of games that we've shared common interests with. No, we're not talking about Ark Survival Evolved right now. But we do want to talk about Black Ops 7 releasing this past week. And as far as we've been growing up together, playing video games, one of our favorite multiplayer genres, games, you name it, has been round-based survival zombies on Call of Duty. And here it is, another iteration, right? Black Ops 7. I believe this is the ninth installment of the Treyarch Zombies saga. I might be wrong on that. Um, but so far, what are your initial thoughts on just the opening map, the changes, and the state of zombies in 2025?
Yeah, I want to start with my initial expectations going in. I was very ready to just completely punt on this game, not really pay that much attention. Um, not really. This is not going to be a huge focus for me video game wise this year, but I have been very thoroughly impressed by the map at least. We knew a lot of the mechanics from Black Ops 6 were gonna, all of them actually came over to Black Ops 7, and that was kind of what was putting me off. And then sort of the maps that kind of finished off the Black Ops 6 run, Terminus Island was a good first one for BO7, and we liked that. And Liberty Falls was a good, camo grinding map. But
Oof.
after that, the Tomb was all right, but the rest of them was, ooh, we're not touching those. But into this map, we had a lot of inklings that okay, it's gonna be a transit type map. We might have the bus back, but and I thought the car, so they said, oh, we're gonna have a car for you to drive, and I thought that was gonna be a little gimmicky, but I think they've implemented that very well, in the map it has like what 5 or 6 different sections that you traverse with the car. I think that's been really cool. And the atmosphere, I think they've really hit on it. Now the story, we haven't done the Easter egg yet, so we'll see all that. But the story really hasn't been a major emphasis for the past couple years. But I have been really, really impressed with the gameplay, and this first map has really, really hooked me in.
Yeah, the lore in the story, it loses me the moment the initial. I don't know if have you seen the initial cutscene like loading into the map? So I was playing solo the other day, and I just see the original crew that we had from Black Ops 6, and I think they were in Cold War as well. Um, so this crew comes out, and then I see Richtofen and Tim Dempsey and Nikolai and the Asian guy. I can't think of his name right now. You let me know whenever it comes to your mind. Takiao.
Yeah.
And I see them come out. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I see this Walton Goggins looking, Fallout zombie dude wearing a cowboy outfit and a sick skull lantern sucking the souls out of him. And I'm like, where
Well,
are we right now? What the hell is going on? And then, if we're going to talk about the Black Ops 7 campaign, that's a whole different scenario. Um, but what I'll say about it is, I mean, the map itself is the biggest highlight for me because there's all these different areas and it's something they could have easily messed up so bad, but it feels like every area is important. There's certain things to do in each area that feel like they're necessary. You want to keep traveling, keep going around to doing things in other areas. There's trainable spots in every single map area. The car, it doesn't feel too overpowered, it doesn't feel like a gimmick. They even have the jump pads in between, but a lot of the times I'd rather stick with with you or with my party and go from place to place in the vehicle that you can upgrade and you can do a lot of the stuff with. And that also allows you to do a lot more stuff in game in terms of customizing it, destroying certain things to give you prizes, Easter egg stuff. The Easter egg itself is insane. We haven't even finished 30% of it, I think. I mean, I watched the video as well as you did. Well of a ways to go. And some of these steps are convoluted as absolute hell. Don't Whenever we start shooting these keys, Laraib, I'm gonna whatever. But my overall impression, if I had to give it a grade, I'd give it a B plus. It's exceeded my initial expectation. I think the gameplay and how in depth the map is really fun. It's easy to get into, and I think it has really good replayability for however you want to attack it. Um, but I'm excited or nervous to see where they go from here because it took them a while to come out with the second map because they killed it. Black Ops 6, they killed that first initial zombies launch, but then a lot of the hype died down. It didn't really deliver exactly what we wanted. So I'm excited to see there was news potentially a Zombie Chronicles 2 releasing upon the season 1 release, which will be coming up very soon, and potentially definitely another map. So excited to see what they come out with that. But overall, I've been impressed.
yeah, I'm also going to stick with B plus, maybe even A minus range. A lot of the things that I thought would be gimmicky haven't been too gimmicky so far. I think the Wonder Weapon, it has some really cool elements. It wasn't something that they recycled, and so that was really, really good to see. But I think, they just like last year, like you mentioned, they had good momentum with the first map. Are they going to continue to build on it? That's going to be, how do you captivate this audience for a whole year? Right? That's going to be a huge challenge for them. Maybe Zombie Chronicles is something that they can do to remaster some of those old maps, keep a lot of people entertained while they try to really hit on some of those, huge, big, game-defining maps, right? Because when we think of like Black Ops 2, you think of Mob of the Dead, right? You think of Origins. Then you move on to Black Ops 3, you have your Shadows of Evil, your Rise and Drock. So you have like these defining moments of a game, right? And I think this is a good step towards that. But it's going to be a wait and see in the next 6 months. Can they continue to build on that?
All right, well, that's going to do it for our episode today. A lot of fun football stuff that we got into. Look forward for our next episode. We're going to be breaking down all of Week 12 NFL action. A lot of spicy matchups to look forward to as we progress through an excellent 2025, soon to be 2026 NFL season, Laura. But anything else we want to say before we get out of here today?
No, I think that's the First and Goal podcast signing off.
Peace.